And this contest, it holds lots of memories for me, and I always encourage people to join. My team has made lots of trips around the states and stuff on the minibus, and it's always a good time, just becoming better friends. And then we also have a lot of team bonding that happens there with that. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Stamble, and I'm serving as the Vice President this year. And I came here to talk to you about one of our relatively new CDs that we've developed. 2 years ago, 5 FFA members, including myself, decided to bring a floriculture career development team to the Manchester FFA. This competition includes many individual parts like the identification of plants and garden tools, as well as taking a floriculture knowledge exam. It also requires us to create a flower arrangement, price it accordingly, and take an order as though we were florists in a real-life floral shop. Another aspect of the competition is a team activity to solve a problem. This event builds life skills that are important to careers in greenhouse and field production management, as well as garden center, floral shop, and design management. At our first state competition, my team and I came in 3rd overall. My teammates and I also made contact with local businesses to see florists in a real-world setting. We made an appointment with Rhinestones and Roses to see day-to-day operations and checked out Metzger Landscaping and Design to learn more about plants and landscaping tools. A student could join to get a real nice insight into this branch of agriculture, or just to have fun.
Hello, my name is Madison Parson, and I'm serving as the secretary this year. Our members participate in several community service events. An example of this would be at the Harvest Festival. We put on a kiddie tractor pull, a straw maze, and a petting zoo for the families and kids in our community. Another example of this is the Christmas party that we put on, and we make and deliver tie blankets to Riley Children's Hospital. Community service is a great chance for our members to participate in learning the value of helping others, and it also teaches them how to work together and communicate to combine school activities with community service to help engage with our community.
Hello, my name is Olivia Dale, and I am the secretary of our FFA chapter. SAE stands for Supervised Agricultural Experience. This program is designed to give students the best opportunity to develop their future careers in agriculture. I'm a part of SAE programs myself and take part in swine production and equine science, but some of our other members participate in several others, such as forage production, ag processing, beef production, sheep production, and tons of others. SAEs are a huge advantage in college readiness and career exploration. It gives students opportunities to obtain real-world experiences in agriculture, which is hugely beneficial to all of our members. This program also encourages students to become involved in an agriculture career and gives diversity to our members and their careers. SAEs are overall an incredible opportunity for our members and are beneficial to our career development as individuals in the work world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harry Sturzman, and I'm the treasurer for our FFA chapter this year. Today I'll be talking about leadership development events. Leadership development events are a series of events that consist of quiz bowl, demonstrations, multimedia, and traditional scrapbooking and speaking events. One of my favorite leadership development events is quiz bowl. Quiz bowl, we learn about FFA facts and history. We take a written test at the district level, and the first place team at the district level moves on to the state competition, which is junior state convention. At leadership practices after school, we about halfway through practice, we have a meal together like family would, because we are a family at leadership practice. After our meal, we sit down and would listen to our fellow members' demonstrations, such as their judges would, to help them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Hopper, and I am the reporter. Today I'll be talking about our meetings. Our FFA chapter holds our meetings on the second Tuesday of each month from 7 to 9. The senior officers use parliamentary procedure to open and close each meeting. During the business part of each meeting. During this part of the meeting, the senior officers, I lost my spot. During this part of the meeting, we talk about past and upcoming events, and the treasurer gives his report. After the business part of the meeting, we eat a snack, then we move into the recreational activity the senior officers chose for that meeting. The first meetings of the year, we play mixer games to learn each other's names and about the senior officers. During the winter meetings, like Maddie said, we make tie blankets for Riley's, and at another meeting we watch a movie. In the springtime, we play dodgeball and kickball if the weather is nice. The senior officers' jobs for these meetings is to set up, organize, and clean up for each meetings. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Lippy asked me if we would share with you what some of the things are that we do in order to have a national 2-star gold chapter, and I thought there's no better way to do that than to have the kids tell their stories themselves. And so what you heard tonight from some of our members, some of our leaders, new leaders I might say, with all of the COVID that we have dealt with, they were just elected last week, so this is their first public speaking event. So I'm really proud of them because that would be tough. First time out, a group of adults, so great job, kiddos. I'm very proud of you. I think that it would be easy for me to stand up here and give you lots of facts and figures, but I think them telling their stories as to their premier leadership, personal growth, and career success activities that they do tells a story much better than I could. So if you have any questions, we would be glad to entertain those, and if not, we will allow you to get on with your meeting. But thank you for the invitation. We're always willing and happy to share our story.
Quick question. How many students are involved in FFA?
Well, we are currently still taking dues right now. Last year we had 80, and I anticipate that we will have that many, maybe a few more this year. So we average anywhere from 70 to 90, it seems like, on a yearly basis. And with their community service projects, their SAE programs, their CDEs, which are career development events, their LDEs, which are leadership development events, and of course we put a little social activity in there from time to time too. We're a pretty busy group, but they like being busy and I do too, so works out well.
Oh, sorry, Rick.
I'm sorry, I just wondered if you're selling fruit at Christmas time.
Well, not to put a plug in for FFB fruit, but actually, Russ, November 1st, we will start selling fruit, caramel corn, soy candles, and variety jams and salsas. Yes. And I did not tell him to do that.
That's good. I was just going to ask, if you had a magic wand, anything in your way from continuing to grow the program? And then how many of these kids, like the agri-science at Heartland, do you guys participate in that? Just a couple questions. So.
Let's do that in reverse order,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. The agri-science at Heartland, I have the older students
Okay.
usually in the morning or the afternoon. This year I have them in the morning because most of them are going to Heartland in the afternoon. and they are going to specialize in certain programs down there. So I'm still fortunate to get 20 kids, that have chosen not to do the Heartland pathway, which is fine. I know those are great programs down there as well. So we still have lots of members who are involved when they're older. The younger students are all in our program. The older students split time, some of them between Heartland and the high school.
Okay.
And the only thing I could think that would get in the way, what would be awesome would be to have a second teacher, so we could have an entire junior high program and an entire senior high program. I don't know that anything gets in the way. I want to thank publicly Dr. Lippy, because sometimes I know I go to him with these crazy ideas and he's like, can you make it work? Will it work? I'm like, I can make it work. He's like, do it. Go for it. That's fine. So with his allowing me to be creative and allowing my students to be creative and, think outside of the box, and the board's permission to do those very same things, we just keep plugging along. The only goal that we have left in terms of a chapter award would be a 3 Gold Star chapter, or to be #1 in the state. But I'll tell you what, I couldn't be more proud of the students that I have had in the past, or that I currently have, and so I will not thumb my nose at a 2 Gold Star national chapter. That's awesome for these kids. It's great. Anything else?
I would just like to say thank you for all you do. And I know we typically would have the students come up and shake their hand, and we're not going to be able to do that, but I would appreciate if you'd come up and come past us, because I'd love to be able to say a few words to each one of you and congratulate you personally. And I'm sure the rest of the board would like to do that as well. So if there aren't any more questions, we'd love to have you come up.
Fine with that. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Great job.
You're a high five.
That was a real good presentation, guys. Thanks for coming and educating us a little bit. Good job tonight.
Yeah, we don't like
Thanks
to
for
visit
coming.
and run, but we have our first meeting, we're really excited. We have our first meeting at 7 o'clock. So
Please visit and
we're
run.
going back to the high school for a couple hours. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the agenda. We have consent items. Traditionally, we read the donations.
Excuse me, Ruth. Is there anybody online now that would have a question before we go?
No, there isn't. We are online now. We've got the encoder working.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I didn't
Yeah,
notice.
I have not seen anybody, I haven't gotten any emails, and nobody's popping up on this Zoom.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yep.
No apologies. All right, under the donations, there's quite a list this month. There's a donation of $500 to MCS for water from the Chester Township trustee. Donation of $50 to MCS Water Fund from Jeff Miller. Donation of $50 to MCS Water Fund from Deming Lodge. Donation of 850 child-sized face masks to MCS from Depew Synthesis. Donation of $100 to MCS for water from North Manchester Moose 1518. Donation of $300 to MJSHS Athletic Fund for audio-visual broadcast of home sporting events from Manchester Realty. Donation of $50 to MJSHS Athletic Fund for the audio-visual broadcast of home sporting events from James and Shannon Fortman. Donation of $1,000 to MJSHS Cross Country Program in memory of Rex Wheeland. Donation of $350 to MJSHS Cross Country Program for Manchester Invite T-shirts from the Graphic Brand. Donation of $800 to MJSHS Cross Country Program for Manchester Invite T-shirts from Three Rivers Running Company. Donation of $250 to MJSHS FFA Program from Southview Farms. Donation of $250 to MJSHS FFA program for Metzger Landscaping and Design. Donation of $174 to MJSHS band program for band t-shirts from Peabody Retirement Community. Donation of $174 to MJSHS band program for band t-shirts from Bit Computers. Donation of $400 to MCS Special Education Department from an anonymous donor. Just would like to thank the donations. It is really quite a thing that so many people consider the school and donate to us. At this point, I'm looking for a motion for approval of consent items.
Could I get an explanation on this 431 Homeland Security Secured School Safety Grant? What are we going to use that for? That looks like an odd amount there. I mean, was that something?
That's part of the secured safety grant, and that goes to pay our SROs. That's part of that matching grant. So we did receive that amount for this next school year, for the 2021 school year.
Yeah, the odd amount just raised a question.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Turflinger and a second by Mr. Flack. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Recommendations for approval. We have 3 policies that are here for the second reading. Would it be all right to take a motion for all 3 of them in a second?
I'm good with that. I'll move.
All right, a motion by Mr. Esposito.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Black to approve policy 4085, policy 3260, and policy 3270. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Approval of the 2021 school board meeting dates.
If you would scroll a little bit more with that, you can see that in August, Mr. Turflinger made a request to move that back because of the start of school. Thought that was a great idea, so we did put that August one on August 17th. But other than that, they're the same second Tuesday of the month.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Turflinger and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. I wasn't quite sure about the difference between 5.5 and 5.6, and 5.7 are approvals of each of the schools' SIP 2020 to 2021 school improvement plans. Can we do those together? Is that okay, or do you want to do each individually? I'm looking for a motion, and the motion can either be for all 3 together to approve the school improvement plans, or we can do each individual.
Would you like me to give you kind of some background on that? Okay. The school improvement plans are required from the IDOE for every year, and we have to submit those. They are about making improvements in whatever they are measuring us on, which would be like our iLearn scores, all of that, any kind of our assessments, high stakes testing that we do. So what this is just a record of what our demographics are and how we're going to move forward from one year to the next and what our goals will be. That's kind of the short and sweet version.
I know in years past we've had like a summary kind of what the goals were going to be, that kind of stuff, but maybe it's a little too difficult to do it
it certainly could be done that way. We just didn't, we submitted the entire document. They're not very long. At one time, I remember doing a 40-page document, but these are put together with teams at each one of the buildings where they sit down, they do a lot of collaboration on where we're going to move forward and how we're going to get our students from point A to B. So there's a lot of discussion involved in that as well.
Is there something that we could get as a board in a summary that we could at least just read?
Principals, there's a couple of you out there, I'm sure
I'm
that
not
they
looking
could.
for in-depth, I'm just looking for
They
like
have that.
5 or 6 points, that's
If
all.
they have the access to the whole thing.
Yes.
Like
yes.
it's 9
So
pages.
then, the two, one, Heidi and I kind of combed through this one a little more in depth than what we have in the past. I appreciate Heidi looking over it. As an MTA rep, we want to make sure we're kind of aligned with that. I guess that what's happened over the years is this used to be a bigger deal than it is now because we're thinking I learn like every day now. I mean, it used to be like, okay, testing would roll around in March and we'd think about it. It's like every day now we're thinking about like throwing in like remediation, enrichment. Like right now we're doing an iReady diagnostic. We're really testing assessing a lot more through the year now. The English and math teachers are now starting to do an iReady standard mastery. I know that Tommy got kind of kicked that off the whole district, got it really going, humming last school year, and Amy is right on his heels with the high school. We only get 48 minutes of English and math. And we get 48 minutes of English and math. And so I'll sort of back up a little bit. The English and math team spend a considerable amount of time it's just nonstop now with thinking I learn, and that's kind of really the basis for, I think, where Tommy's MIS and MES, there's some I read things in there for the elementary, but because it's just become, everything else is in front of this. This has kind of become like a secondary piece. The state doesn't even look at this anymore. I mean, it's sent into a PDF and it just sits there. We're kind of living that every day now, that document. So, but we went through it probably as in detail as what we've done probably in the last 5 years since I've been here, and just really kind of looked at, tried to pull some things out. We've had some recommendation, maybe to put some more things in on Heartland. I think that's something we're going to consider doing. In fact, I think we put a couple things in this year, and we certainly will kind of probably put a little more in there as our pathways really start to lean heavier on Heartland moving forward. Graduation rate is something that's pretty much just in the high school plan. Share out, we didn't get the results from iLearn past year because we didn't have the iLearn because of COVID. Usually I like to share those results out, and the last time we ran results in the last 3 or 4 years, we lead the area, our school system, in 7th and 8th grade math and English scores. I tried to put together a lot of the schools that are similar demographics, but just including all the schools, we're right there. It just seems like with all the schools, as far as those iLearn results, our graduation rate is always near the peak. So when you read into this, you see above state average. That, we always want to be above state average. But recently we've become even more competitive. We want to kind of lead the area, and I think that's what you see. And we'll get some new results. I'll get those to you in the spring. Hopefully, we're in school the rest of the school year. We do get to do iLearn. I mean, we prepare for it. It'd be nice to finally take it. So kids and teachers put a lot of time in it. So anything specific?
No, and I remember, when we go through this, it would be a very lengthy meeting because we went through all the details. And I get it. This is what we're living and breathing every day. That's fine.
Yeah,
just
with the
sometimes.
school report card, the career readiness, graduation rate, all those things now are coming through the school year. It used to be like this was a one-time deal. We think about it. Well, it seems like we're living it more every day. So, no, it's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, just to echo John's sentiments, he talked a lot about iLearn iLearn, and iReady is our formative assessment piece that we use to prepare for the iLearn test. We did really jump in pretty heavily last year at MIS with that formative assessment piece. Something that we do, we have a 3-week rotation. You know, we take an English language arts, they call them CFAs, Common Formative Assessment. All the kids take it so we can get a pulse of where they're at on different standards that we identify as our power standards to get the kids prepared, not for the iLearn test, but to be able to move on and excel in the next grade. They take an English language arts, they take a math, and then the 3rd week is used for further remediation or extension on both of those standards. And we repeat that cycle. iReady comes with a Form A and a Form B of the assessment, so once we feel like we've done a good job of giving the students that need remediation a chance to be remediated, we go back and have the students take that Form B so we can compare the results from the first assessment to the second assessment and see who still needs further remediation. So, you know, for me, when it comes to the school improvement plan, you know, one of the goals is always going to be with iLearn or something academics based. But then the other goal, I like to take something that also has an impact on student learning and try to address that as well. Our secondary goal for this year was with attendance. Students have to be in school in order to be able to learn. But something obviously that is unique about this year is in dealing with COVID and having students that are going to be absent, quarantined, or on virtual learning for a significant period of time, just to take a more intensive focus on how we are tracking student attendance and what interventions that we are putting in place to ensure that all students have an equitable access to the education. So what that has meant so far is, you know, a heck of a lot more phone calls and a heck of a lot more home visits, and just trying to make sure that all of our students are able to receive the high quality instruction that our teachers are putting forward. So that's kind of where MIS is at in a brief nutshell.
And I will speak for MES because Mrs. Course was unable to attend this evening. So Mr. Self, if you could pull up the elementary document, school improvement plan, and scroll to page 6. I'm going to echo everything that Mr. Baldwin just stated. As you can see, they're supporting data right there that they use for iLearn results, iRead 3, iReady results, Fontes and Pinnell results, and IEP goal review. Right above that, Mr. Self, you can scroll back up, is their school improvement goal to be above the state average, and they're shooting for 55% or above for passing on iLearn for this year for English language arts. If you scroll down to page 8, you will see their math goal for this year is to be above 65% passing, which the state average is the 58.7%. So that is what their goal is, and they will be using those measurements as you see right there, iLearn, iReady, and IEP goal review. Any questions about MES? Oh, you guys. Sure.
So one thing, when you see these numbers, 58.7, who can be proud of a 58.7% passing rate? But you got to remember this. That's a mastery. 58.7% reach mastery. Mastery is 80%. That's not 60% like on a A, B, C, D, F, okay? That's mastery, and that's huge to remember that, because it's hard to be proud when somebody tells you, oh, we're feeling good about 50%. Well, you're feeling pretty good when you're at 50% of 80% of your scores are above that. That's what you got to keep in mind, and that's what they changed a couple years ago. It's a big deal.
And I would just say when the test changed to iLearn, the rigor was so much more intense, and it's taking the teachers a while to adjust to that. And we're not the only ones, it's across the state. There's some of them with some pretty low scores if your average is that 58%. So yeah, they're striving to improve, and that's what these plans are all about.
Just to add to that real quick, so we've had this iReady piece since the beginning of last year now. when I go back, and I just talked to my English language arts team about this afternoon, and I look with students from last year to this year on the same standard, even with the 3 months that we were doing e-learning through COVID, the scores that we have at the beginning of this school year on the same standards at the same time of the year blow last year's out of the water. The improvement has just been incredible. And so I attribute that to, we talk about not wanting in education teachers to teach to the test, but what they're doing is they're looking at the rigor and the way that these questions are being asked, and they're digging much deeper in the depth of knowledge. They're not just asking students, what is the answer to the question? They have to be able to defend and reason, because that's what the kids are being asked to do on these exams. And so, it's a credit to the teachers that they're really invested in this iReady, and they're using that to try to inform their instruction. So, it's really been huge, because the rigor definitely jumped up. My last year in the classroom was the first year they really started. We really started with iLearn, and it was eye-opening, the difference between what we had done on iStep versus what they were asking students to be assessed on in iLearn.
And in case you didn't catch, iReady is our formative assessment tool. They do a diagnostic 3 times a year to see growth, but then they also look at each standard and they assess the standard after teaching it, and that's what Mr. Balder was referring to as an A and a B. So you're testing it twice to see if once they were remediated, that they have retained that knowledge. So this was probably one of the first pieces that we implemented when I came on board. We were doing NWEA, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And we created the curriculum instruction and assessment team, and they chose iReady, and it's just been a real blessing ever since. So really excited about the results.
So somebody make a motion and second it, or?
No, we don't, there's not a motion.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to make one?
I thought somebody made a motion, I was gonna second, so we could have discussion, but yeah. So why, just a question from that metric, the 58.7%, why use something like that? If it's defeating, it is defeating.
Well,
is that a state calculated metric? So maybe I'm not talking to you guys, I'm talking to somebody down there, right? That's who I'm talking to.
Why do you think it is? We wondered the same thing.
Well, and that's the questions I want to ask on this board, right, when they come up. It's not negative towards us. I'm just asking simple questions like, why use a metric then? Because that is defeating. It'd be like using OEE in manufacturing, right? It's a very defeating metric, so nobody uses it. And then to set a couple more things on the school improvement plan. So I tried to get through as much of that as I could. Maybe I missed it, so I may have missed it, but have we ever embedded a student engagement survey and a faculty engagement survey, a formal survey into this school improvement plan versus, because when I say school improvement plan, that's a little broader than meeting state standards and stuff like that. So I just wonder, if there's something we can do with this, if this tool is kind of outdated or something, and we need to look at the metric and we need to look at that, and then somebody needs to get it changed, right, where it's a driver to performance versus something, and I'm sure the assessment's really good, but I just, that's kind of why I got on the board, is just to look at things and it's an error and negative comment. I'm just looking at how we can improve, right? On things like that, when I hear things like that, so that would be my comment on it. But I think our performance is the strength of this school system, and everybody knows that, so.
And I think that's the whole purpose. You're going to hear from Mrs. Janagi next month on the direction that we are all heading. And it has the engagement piece in there, and it's all STEM related, and that's what our focus is. And I think you'll find that we spend a lot of time trying to increase that engagement piece. So you'll hear about that next month.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of school improvement plan 5.5, 5.6, and 5.7.
I'll second the motion, and I did send an email to Dr. Grimeau and Dr. Lippy. I would like to see Heartland's, we are a member school down there, and that is part of our campus, and it was kind of light but in conversation, it's gonna change next year and get a little better.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Turklinger. Is there discussion? All those in favor? Dissent? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. 5.8, adoption of the 2021 budget.
As was presented to the board in September, and also at the public hearing as we recap that, we're asking for your approval of the 2021 budget. And again, just a reminder kind of the timeline with your approval tonight. I will then submit the budget to the DLGF tomorrow using our Gateway online program that we have to utilize. And then we would wait for the DLGF to return our budget to us with any modifications or changes that they would deem necessary to that budget. So again, the total budget amount is $16,235,652. And again, that's about $240,000 less than what we asked for last year that we approved at this meeting a year ago. So.
Looking for a motion to approve the 2021 budget.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Espesat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Mr. Turklinger, are you going to vote?
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
The motion carries 7-0. Thank you. 5.9, additional appropriation resolution.
So the next two, can anybody hear me? Okay. So the next two items are the resolutions related to the 2020 bond. The first one is going to be the additional appropriation resolution, and this is required in any event that a governmental entity wants to spend money that it didn't originally budget. So we have to approve this to be able to use the funds from the bond. So, and I would take these one at a time.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept 5.9 additional appropriation resolution?
So moved.
Second.
I don't know who seconded.
Second.
Oh, thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Espesat. Is there discussion?
Do we know what we're going to spend this on? Hate to sound like a broken record.
Yeah, like we've stated, we'll utilize this for salaries, benefits, to help for our shortfall. Sorry, can you hear me, Ben? We'll utilize this to help with our shortfall in the enrollment for this fall, to help with salaries and benefits and those operational needs. No capital projects or anything. These monies will not be used for anything like that.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Thank you.
So the next one is the, let me get over to it, is the final bond resolution. So this contains the terms of the, or maximum terms of the bond, including the amount, the interest rate, maturity dates. It just generally contains the details of the bonds. It also contains the form of the bonds that will be sold and registered. So.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there discussion?
Where do we pick the term as? Is it the repayment term?
No, that's 5.11. We're on 5.10, final bond resolution.
The resolution at least contains the form that does contain the maximum repayment term that we can have, which I believe is 5 years, but that's just the maximum again. So we can't go past that point.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-3. Thank you. Bond repayment terms.
Okay, it's up on the screen, you should have this in your packet as well now, are the bond repayment options, and this goes out to a 5-year, and as you can see, the 5-year repayment is $145,110 with a 3-cent potential estimated tax impact, and then your estimated interest is $38,103 there. And then so you can see the 4-year, the 3-year, the 2-year, and the 1-year. Essentially what we figured in to the budget was a 2-year repayment, and again the DLGF we can adjust that as that is needed. But that's what was figured into the budget for 21 on that basis.
I'm looking for a motion that would include the number of years for repayment.
I would make a motion to do the bond with a 4-year repayment.
There's a motion to do the bond with a 4-year repayment. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion by Mr. Turflinger and a second by Mr. Shaw for a 4-year repayment of the bond. Is there discussion?
Jeremy, can you tell me why you recommend 2 years and what the impact of the difference would be? Well, I can see the dollar difference, so I don't need that. But how does that impact future budgets or bond opportunities?
Sure. My recommendation on the 2-year is so that we're able to pay this off at the same time the roof bond would go off around 2023, and then as we have other debt that continues to fall off, it places us more strategically as we talk about the strategic plan and the things that we want to accomplish maybe through that, to allow us a little more debt room to do some of those things within the strategic planning process. So mostly just to get that debt off of the books, off of the debt service prior to the rest of the debt falling off, just to give us more capacity.
So I have a question just so I can understand clearly. The recommendation is 2 years, so it looks to me like the interest is just over $15,000. The motion on the table is 4-year. So essentially, if we vote for 4-year, we're asking, the school will be paying $13,900 more in interest. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, we would pay out more in interest.
So what's the benefit of having a longer repayment? What's the benefit for the school?
The benefit would be more to the taxpayer. They would just have a lower tax rate.
Was there a benefit for the school that you made that motion?
Yeah, for all the taxpayers that send their kids here. You know, this is gonna raise taxes next year, 2021. And when you add in the cost of Baker Tilly, the interest comes out about the same as the cost of Baker Tilly, and instead of raising taxes 8 cents on $150,000 that costs the taxpayer $120 a year, it costs them $60. And the school district still gets everything that they need. Plus, I guess my question would be for Mark or Jeremy, if somebody else, I'm getting an echo here, back up a little bit. If somebody else raises taxes if we have this out for 4 years, how does that work? Is that, if we have already levied the tax, is it first come, first served? If we go 2 years and somebody else jumps in that point, is that less money we can borrow?
The debt service fund will be funded. The DLGF will fund the debt service, so any debt that you take on, they'll fund they would take it away from like our operations revenue for tax levies, if that became the case. So, I mean, if we take this bond and we'll receive those monies, and they're gonna certify the debt service amount for that amount. They'll make sure that that's covered.
Let me ask the question a different way. All of the taxing entities count against the tax cap. I know we get our money, and then if we have this debt out there, they're gonna reduce our operating. What I'm saying is if the county decides to build a new jail, and we already have this on there, when this falls off, do we still have that option? Or is that gonna put us against the cap?
So when this is paid off, when this drops off and our other debt begins to fall off, that our tax rate would start to begin to lower.
Right.
And so our goal would be to level that tax rate and keep it level. So as that debt comes off, then that would allow us to do some of the things that were presented in the strategic planning process to keep that tax rate back up and keep it level. Because as your tax rate falls, you're going to lose funding.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If we take this for a longer term, even though it costs us a little bit more in interest, we're protecting our ability to levy taxes under the cap.
Right, or we could do it by doing other projects, other capital projects.
I get that.
And let this fall off sooner so that we would have more capacity to do other projects. So, yes.
But their projects count against our capacity too, I guess is a better way to answer the question.
He's trying to ask if we go 2 years, then the tax climate changes, will we have the ability to get that money instead of having enough 4 years as competing with other people for that same tax money?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be competition for those tax dollars from other entities, for sure. And I can't forecast that by any means, what that might look like moving forward.
And Dave, I understand your question. If we hit the tax caps, do we get all of our money and somebody else loses out, or is it prorated versus all the taxing entities? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, the law may change, right? Who knows what it's going to be.
That's also a possibility, yeah.
So I guess I'll offer a compromise and change my motion to let's go to 3 years. Let's split the difference and get on with it.
How do I do that, handle that, Mr. Frank?
Withdraw the original motion, make the new motion, get a new second.
Okay, I withdraw that motion.
Well, I'd like to comment, because I haven't, I'm not, if this is what the administration has planned for, the 2-year plan, if this is what they're comfortable with, I think we should support it. I don't see us having the ability to come in and dictate differently. If this is what Jeremy and Teresa are comfortable with, they've ran the numbers, they know the numbers, and this is in coordination with their strategic plan, and I think we should support it.
And my comment to that would be, Steve, and not being facetious, but I'd be more supportive too if I knew what that strategic plan looked like in a quantified fashion for the future, and what we were going to spend, what we needed, and what we were going to spend it on. And that's my whole problem with this thing, you know. So I'm just hoping we're borrowing enough, and we're not going to have to turn around and pay these guys again. And I look just at my household. If my work goes down, you know, if income goes down, if things are like that, we tend, you know, we don't spend is what we do. We tend to tighten the belt. So that would be my take on this too. I don't know that the terms, when you look at these dollars and what in our budget, I don't know that between 3 and 4 years, you know, I don't know that you guys dicing straws here or something on this interest, because that's pennies compared to what our budget is. But you know, I'm kind of in favor of that. I wish I knew what that future would look like, I'd be a lot more confident.
I understand what you're saying, but I also believe in my administration, and I believe that they're folks that run the numbers, they do the stuff day to day, they do it every day.
And I think, Steve, the thing is, we've also got a, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
If this is what
Keep going.
is what they need, then I think we should support it.
Thank you. You know, the question was asked, what's the benefit of extending it out? And I think Dave, you kind of touched on it. And we've talked a lot about how this community and this school are tied together, and how the school is important to the community, and how the community is important to the school. And jumping these taxes by 8 cents in 2 years is causing a big spike here. And I don't think that is easy for all of our taxpayers in this community to take. When we make things hard for our community, it's not easy for them to support us. So I think, there's not much benefit directly to the school, but there is an indirect benefit to the school by respecting the community's concerns as well. Yeah, we can just go out and grab money, but that doesn't mean we should. And I think we've all agreed that we do need this money. There was some discussion about when we needed it, but we all decided we needed it. And I think the community would agree that we need it. I don't see, like Mike said, you look at more interest, okay, but it's not a big number in my mind to pay a little bit more interest and extend this out and smooth that tax rate and not have it go up and down. And that to me is the reason I would like to see. Actually, I'd like to see 5 years, but I think 4 years is fine. But yeah, I think that's the part you got to look at, is that we have a responsibility to the community as well as to the school. And so that's why I'm in favor of the 4 years.
And I would just say that we really tried to keep the community in mind when we were talking numbers, and that's why we tried to be very, very conservative. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the legislators will do down the road. Our concern is, okay, come year 3 or 4 or 5, if we now have to take out another bond to pay for a bus to help us get through again because we don't have enough from that operating expenses to be able to do that, then we're still paying for this one. And I guess that's...
Yeah, but there's not going to be, it's going to be a small amount by year 4 or 5 that we have left on it, right? We're not talking about that much difference.
Can you explain that? What do you mean by that?
Well, by year 4 or 5, you don't. Am I mistaken that you've paid off some of this in the meantime?
Yeah, it'll pay down just like you would a car loan or something like that.
So we're not going to owe the $670 on year 4, right?
We were just trying to be as conservative as we could.
Right. Well, yeah. Then why not 1 year then?
I'd love to go that. I don't think that anybody would be willing to do that, so.
Why not?
Because you're already concerned about 2-year payment, I didn't think you would be.
Well, I'm not, but that's what I'm saying. You're saying 1 year is better than 2 years, so if we're only concerned about what the school gets out of it, then why not 1 year? And the reason is because we're thinking about other people. We're thinking about the community. We're thinking about the tax rate and what that effect is on people. So that's what I'm saying. You are thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it. I'd like to see it as smooth as possible when the interest rate is so low to begin with. If the interest rate was 5 or 6%, I'm right with you. Let's pay it off, and I don't want to spend money on interest. But we're talking about 1.5% interest. I'm not afraid to take that loan out 5 years, 4 years.
Teresa, Dr. Gamil, aren't we approaching 50% of free and reduced lunch in our community?
Yes, that's where we've been for a while, yeah.
Okay, so we're in a global pandemic, and for me, it's not about a question of supporting the administrators or just what the school needs. It's checks and balances. It's trying to balance both, and I think that motion gives the administration and the school district what they need, and it also gives the taxpayers a break. You know, some of the crop prices are up, some of them down. You know, same thing with the yield. So let's face it, that's where we get our money from. There's people out there that have been on unemployment for months that are picking between going into the winter season are going to be picking between paying their heat bill and paying their taxes or buying groceries. And, you know, the point was made for what our budget is and what we're looking at and what we're going to pay Baker Tilly. My opinion might be different if, in fact, we would have gotten the bond training and the stuff on the tax caps before we did this, but unfortunately it's after the fact, so I made my motion to try and benefit everybody.
Yeah, so where are we at on that?
So
There's a motion on the table. There's a motion by Mr. Turflinger and a second by Mr. Shaw for a 4-year bond repayment.
Yeah,
Is there more discussion?
Yeah, I have just some clarity. So the cost to the taxpayer, Dave, you said a 4-year repayment was $60 a year over 4 years, and a two-year repayment was $120 each year.
That's on $150,000.
On 150, yeah, and I'm just confirming. So the cost to the taxpayer is the same. It's just spread out, and that's what when you're saying leveling.
Well, it would be a little higher because of the interest rate. But
So
you're talking
4
about the
years.
difference between 670 plus 15 plus 670 plus 29. So the total cost isn't.
Mr. Shaw, can you use your mic?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. He could.
Yeah, I was right with you.
Yeah, the total cost is going to be the 670 plus the interest. So if you're at 3 years, it'd be 670 plus the 21. At 2 years, it'd be 670 plus 15 is the total what the taxpayer is going to pay back.
But
over
on
all of us together.
Correct. On a $150,000 property, the cost to the taxpayer is the same.
No.
It's either, okay.
It's different by not by much, but it'd be a little higher the longer you go it out because you're paying more interest.
Okay.
But
So if we spread this out, the actual cost to the taxpayer is a little bit more.
Yes, but I'm saying it's just a little bit more because you're talking about between 2 years and 4 years, you're talking about, what is that? About $15,000, but it's only 15 out of the 670, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I get the interest is minimal.
Right, and that's the only increase, yeah. Oh,
If I say I own a $150,000 property, if I pay it off in 2 years, I'm paying $240 over 2 years. If my taxes are contributed each year, $60 a year, I'm still at $240 total. As a taxpayer, correct? Is that correct?
yeah, who are you asking?
Anybody.
Basically, I think, yes, you're going to pay the same amount. You're going to pay slightly more, but basically the same amount, but it would be spread out over whatever the term is that we decide, I guess, yeah. Which is my point, is that why not level that out and keep it not such a big hit all at once. We just did one last year for the roof and boilers. You know, that was a year ago. Now we're doing another one, so.
Yeah, and I'm very sensitive to taxpayers, or I like to think I am. But I also think to the future, and not that anybody else isn't, when I see what I think will cost some taxpayer dollars in the strategic plan, I worry that this delays that when we have that conversation throughout the next 2 years. Will the same will we pause again and not capitalize on some of the energy from this strategic plan at a later date, where if this was off the books in 2 years, it wouldn't have seemed like a tax increase, but yet then we're spending money that we want to be spending to grow this system. I don't know if that makes sense. The presentation wasn't awesome.
I think I have the same question as an ask Raju or someone what you would think about that, because it certainly potentially delays, and I agree, we don't have a financial plan wrapped around a strategic plan. We haven't prioritized everything yet. But as we put those committees together and we prioritize, it potentially delays the development of that strategic plan.
And it will affect it, but I don't think by much. You're talking about the debt comes off in 2 years. Is that correct, Jeremy? It starts to come off, the current debt?
Yes.
So it's going to start coming off. It's not all going to come off anyways in 2 years. So we'll have part of this. If we go to 4 years, there'd still be that 2 years beyond. The next 2 years, the tax rate's just going to go up. We're not going to be able to spend any more money anyways. Year 3 and 4, we start to get a little bit of breathing room. This will take some of that away, certainly, but I don't think it's going to be that much, because by year 4 and 5, I mean, you've already paid off 2 years of principal and interest, so you know what I mean? It's falling off as well. So I think there would still be room to do something in a couple years, slightly less room.
And I could say our other concern was no more than we were spent trying to borrow that limited amount, to be very conservative. My concern is this will probably be spent in probably 18 months, and then we're still paying it off for 4 years. And that's really why we made that recommendation. I wouldn't run my own checkbook that way. I wouldn't like to borrow it and know that I spent it and then I'm paying for it for 5 years or whatever. So if that's not a concern of yours, then you can do what you want with it. But that's one of the reasons we went with the 2-year recommendation as well.
Let me be devil's advocate for just a minute. We're talking about the strategic plan, but what if we roll around to the spring and August comes along and we're down another 100 kids and we got to go borrow money again? So if we do this for, say, a year and we raise taxes 240, what are we going to do then? There was a lot of conversation about waiting until after the first of the year. I'm not going to beat that horse anymore. I'm just saying, everybody I've talked to says you need to keep the tax rate level. This is a nickel at 4 years per $100 of assessed value. So it doesn't matter if you got $1 million worth of property or $10,000 worth of property, you're paying the same. I just feel like we need to be financially responsible and try to keep that line as flat as possible, because if we do this and we have to go back, we still got that window without taxing people. We want to grow the community. We want to give the school what they need to, but raising taxes is not a way to reach out and put your arms around business and say, come to our community. Keeping that line, you all heard Jeremy say it, trying to keep that line flat. Well, let's try to keep it as flat as we can.
So there's a motion on the table for bond repayment to go out for 4 years. Do we want more discussion?
I thought, didn't you rescind that and say 3 years?
Just let it go, we'll just see what happens.
Let's just make the motion again, because it was technically withdrawn.
Oh, okay, so the motion has been withdrawn, so there's no motion right now. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll just make the same motion again to go with 4 years.
I'd like to make a motion that we
Second.
follow the administration's recommendation of 2 years.
So can there be two motions?
There can, you vote on the first one first, and if that one passes, you essentially can't vote on the second one then, but there needs to be a second to Mr. Flack's motion.
Does Mr. Shaw count as the second? Was there?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Shaw, I think, seconded Mr. Turflinger's.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You always count.
Well, can I make a motion?
Is there a
Let's put
second?
3 on the table. I'd like to make a motion for 3 years. Thank you.
Okay, so I need to just jot this down. So our first motion is for 4 years, and it's Mr. Turflinger, seconded by Mr. Shaw. The second motion is for 2 years, which was by Mr. Flack. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
And a second by Mr. Espesette, and we have a third motion for 3 years by Mr. Hensley. Is there a second?
Come on, Bryce. Gotta get in this.
Okay, so if there's not a second.
If we're gonna, can I second Mike's as well?
Yeah.
But if we're voting in order, that's fine.
So a second by Mr.
Missed
Espesette.
sometime tonight, so.
All right, so if I understand this correctly, we're going to vote on the first motion. If it carries, then it stops. If it doesn't carry, then we'll vote on the next motion. Is that correct? Do I have that? Okay. Before we do this, I'm sitting here listening to the conversation, and I understand both sides, all sides. I guess there's 3 sides, whatever it is. But I think that it does more harm to say that if someone doesn't vote one way, they don't care about the financial. They're not being financially responsible. Or if someone doesn't vote another way, they don't care about the school. I think there's so many ways that we can look at this that it would do a lot of harm just to lump in, you're not responsible or you don't care about the school. So I appreciate the discussion, and I really feel like I can understand the way different people see it. So thank you for that. Is there more discussion? All right, then, we're going to vote, there's a motion by Mr. Turflinger, second by Mr. Shaw, that the bond repayment terms are 4 years. All those in favor? Opposed? I don't know what the proper terminology is.
Failed.
Okay, motion fails 2-5. The next one is a motion by Mr. Flack, seconded by Mr. Espesette, that the bond repayment terms are 2 years. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails 3-4. And then the next option is debt repayment for 3 years. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Motion carries 4-3. Thank you. All right, superintendent contract renewal. Ms. Dr. Grimeau.
Yes, I just wanted to say a few words about this. What I'd like to just say is, just as teachers have protection through the Teachers Association with ongoing contract renewals each year, I am asking for the same protection and renewal of my contract. All MCS administrators had a contract renewal earlier this year, except the superintendent. And agree or not, this is a standard procedure for all administrators. It's the only protection we have and the only reason for not seeking other employment. I have been asked to remove this item from the agenda, and I'm a little concerned about why I would be singled out for that. I've also been asked to have a new vote on the renewal of my contract. Who else has brand new supervisors evaluate their performance. Again, why would I be singled out for that? I've worked with this board, and this is a plug for you, for the past 18 months. I believe you are the ones that have determined if I'm worthy of a new contract. For this, I'm not apologizing. I want to hear from you as a board on what areas I need to improve upon. And you know my morals, you know my values, you know my commitments, and you know my work ethic. And this board, I believe, has every right to determine if I am worthy of a contract renewal. And whether you agree or disagree with the system that is in place for administrators to feel somewhat secure in their positions, it is completely out of my control. I'm committed to MCS. I love the people I work with every day. I feel our work has made a difference in regardless of the challenges that we have faced over the last 18 months. I relish the opportunity to be able to stay. However, this board has every right to determine if I should move on. It has been a rough 18 months, as you all well know, but I'm confident that we have a lot more work that we can accomplish together, and that I'm asking you to consider renewing my contract at this time. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Prince, would you just explain the procedure?
So the vote today would basically be the determination that the board wants to offer Dr. Grimeau a revised or extended contract. We do have to have a public hearing before that can happen, and then the actual vote to approve the new contract would happen next month or in December.
Thank you. Great. So I'm looking for a motion to extend Dr. Grimeau a contract extension.
I'll make a motion for the superintendent contract renewal.
Second.
So there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Esposette. Is there discussion?
Dr. Grimeau, would you explain why the timing is now and not when we did the other administrators?
One word, COVID. And the other administrators have actually just been finalized recently. I still have 2 more to go. So it's because of COVID. We weren't together, we weren't able to do it, and then everybody was on vacation, so many superintendents across the state are finalizing right now.
And Dave, just to chime in a little bit, I had been asked about it before, and I took a little too long in getting the response back. So I take blame in part of that.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you where I have a problem with this. One is a little bit of the timing, and 2 is the process is my major problem. We talked about this, as a board the other night, so I'm just going to make that public comment. I've got a problem. I want, if we're evaluating something, we should be evaluating to some type of criteria. That criteria wasn't established. I asked for that before we hired a superintendent. I asked for it after we hired a superintendent, and it's still not established. And then you want me to vote on evaluation of a superintendent. It's not the way I work. So
I guess I want a little clarity because I'm confused. I thought we had some goals that you established when during the interview process. I had a 100-day plan, I had a strategic plan. I also had, trying to remember what else I had, the board policies, and then communication. So those are my 4 areas that I worked on for the past year.
And then also we use the RISE rubric, which all the teachers and the principals are using the RISE rubric, and we had the RISE rubric that we brought. And I understand that you wanted a different criteria, but at the time, I apologize if it wasn't clear, but at the time, that's what we had to go on, was the RISE rubric.
Well, and that's a 360 evaluation that the superintendent would do with her immediate reports, and then do with her is what that focus is. So that's, I just want you to know, that's my problem with this, is the lack of process. just to let you know, it's not, I'm not doing a personal attack on you. I want to, as we go forward, we need to set some goals. We need a balanced scorecard where we're looking, student enrollment, the cash balance, those things we talked about in the meeting, and I know what's going to happen. We're going to do this evaluation, and then that's going to go bye-bye like everything we talked about. So I'm just making a point here. That's my problem with this whole thing right now. Is when, and I think the entire board should be involved in that evaluation when it happens.
Superintendent contracts renew automatically if they're not given notice. Is it 6 months or a year before the contract is up, Mr. France?
The contract is up June 2022, I think.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So when do we have to give notice of non-renewal?
November. Well, actually, December of 2021.
You have to give it before January 1 of that year.
So there is an
in
automatic
December.
renewal of the contract. If the board doesn't have a problem, the contract already renews.
It can, yes.
Thank you.
So just a couple comments. I think everybody had an opportunity to fill out the rubric for the evaluation. And then, Mike, I'd like, what we talked about the other day, I don't foresee us letting those goals and those quadrants that you talked about go by the wayside just because we renew a contract. I think that's what you brought up was best practice, and I don't see that going away.
I just, it makes sense to me that we have a vehicle and a system in place to do that, prior to doing it.
So, I don't disagree with that, and I think, Ruth, I felt like said it really well the other night in the executive meeting that we, if we want a different rubric, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, then we need to submit that for approval prior to the evaluation. Is that correct?
That was my understanding. You don't want to use the RISE rubric.
And if that's something that we want to do, then let's do it. But the goals are different. That's not an evaluation. We can evaluate even using the RISE rubric off of the quadrants and the goals that you explained the other day, which I thought was good.
Well, the timing's been off on this thing right from the get-go. The rubric was presented way before the end of the year, even without COVID. I guess in a way we were kind of lucky that it did get presented early, but then COVID hit, and now here we are. So.
I just hope going forward, like we really gotta, somehow this board's gotta, come together. I guess I'll take a first step to that tonight. You make the commitment that you guys will actually, the problem with me is you try to give ideas out to things and it just seems like it falls on deaf ears, and it becomes when you say something, people immediately, it's a defensive posture that you get, and that's what really aggravates me. I'm on this board to try to help in education, try to help improve it, not attack anyone, especially Dr. Grimeau, on this thing. So I'm just hoping as we go forward, we get through this election, whatever this board looks like, I hope we can really start rhyming together here and focus on things, because to me, I'm on other boards, and we've got a heck of a school system. We're not in any crisis or anything like that. Right? We've got an established, a good place here, But it's I hope we can have discussions going forward, and then we can actually do some things versus talking about them. I think one of the guys running, Robert Booper, right? He got up there and he said something that hit me, You know, the same thing we talked about 3 months earlier, about doing something with energy savings as a cost savings, you know, out of MIS, but we talked about it. And I'm sitting here watching Gwen Mize tonight, and the other question I wanted to ask her was, man, you know, Gwen, like that school out there we want to repurpose, is there anything you could do with that farmland out there in the FFA program? You know, or anything like that. So that's the discussions I want to start having here versus bickering between 3 and 4 years on things like that. So I'm willing to take a step in the right direction here tonight on this, but at the same time, you know, I hope everybody on the board can you know, set personal differences aside and we can get focused on this thing because we have to. I mean, we don't know what we're going to face in the future. Looks like this stuff's coming back, right? It's in every company around here, just about got a few people going. So it has been a rocky time, you know. So
Rick, I think that speaking personally, I have learned a lot the last 3 years. I've learned a lot the last 2 years, and I agree with your sentiment that we got to move forward and put, you know, if there are personal things aside and work together on that. And I don't want to hold Dr. Grimeau accountable for our weaknesses also. And I do think that we have a real opportunity as we look at our debt service. We have a strategic plan that Dr. Grimeau spearheaded with the building coordinators, or the building administrators, sorry. We just have an opportunity that I'm really excited about to do something really, really positive. And you know, all day I put myself in Dr. Grimeau's position. And I mean, it's been a rough 18 months, and I appreciate, you know, just the community over COVID, or over gender diversity, or any other topic that comes up. The amount of time that she spends returning calls and reaching out to the community. We've asked for more community involvement. We've got more community involvement. I think we're on the cusp of doing some really nice things. We got to finalize it. We got to push it. You know, I'm not saying we're on the goal line, but at least we're moving, and we got to finalize that. And I would support the contract.
I believe Mr. Clark made the motion and Mr. Esposito seconded it. Is there more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Thank you. Squire Basketball Skill House Camps.
This is just permission to hold basketball camps.
I'll make a motion.
So motion by Mr. Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Second.
Thank you. And a second by Mr. Esposito. Is there discussion?
Are these on school properties, and do they fall under the COVID?
They are on school property. They're part of the athletic department, so yes, they will be on school property.
Is this new?
I think
We always
it's
did
something new.
the ones in January, February. Is this new? Jeremy?
Yeah, just looking at this first, I'd seen it. It is a little bit different than what they've done. Sorry. It's a little bit different than what they've done in the past. Typically, they just had done some Sundays.
Yeah.
But they're breaking it up a little bit by grades, with some preseason dates, and then they have what they call a winter break skills day, which would happen over winter break. So I think they're just breaking it up a little bit and giving more opportunities throughout the year to utilize the game of basketball, as opposed to just how they used to do it, like 6 weeks in a row, and then it was over, and then you never really saw a ball again until the summer. So just kind of spreading it out a little bit.
I applaud Coach Troyer. You know, he's trying to build a program. He's reaching down into the elementary school kids. He's got a lot of different options. You know, if you can't make that 2 or 3 week time period, there's additional stuff there. I applaud him for trying to build a program. And we all know how important extracurriculars are.
Do we have a motion?
Well, we're in discussion.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah,
a motion.
I motion
Yeah,
in Rick
second.
second. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is this a non-cut program?
This is essentially what Biddy Ball was, so yeah, whoever signs up is,
Good.
they can all participate.
I think we got, just one comment on that is we got to kind of be careful what we're doing with these young kids in our programs, especially in the lower grades. I know you have to be competitive, but, you know, when we're kind of, you dice those kids' heart in some of these grades, and I don't understand it lower unless we just have great numbers, which is good, you know, but I think, you know, that'd be the only comment. And I applaud him too, because this is where, you know, that's kind of where championships start in these youth leagues. So I think our basketball, the Sunday thing's been weak for a while, so. Is this just girls?
Yes, this one is just
How I
girls.
interpreted it, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We have a motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Esposette. Is there more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Finally, Heather Turflinger, MIS intramural volleyball coach.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Flack and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 6-0-1. Thank you. Discussion information. There's a parent square presentation.
Yes, and I asked Mr. Self to present tonight because this is a new program for us and wanted you to see all of its capabilities.
Thank you. This has been it's been an interesting spring. We chose an interesting time to implement some new things, and they all begin with the letter P. There's the Power School Parent Portal, and there is Parent Square, which you get all confused. In the spring, we implemented both of these. The Power School Parent Portal is the online piece of Power School that allows parents to check into grades. It also was how we did our online registration. That all blended in with our new communication tool, which is Parent Square. Parent Square is the replacement for what we had been using as School Messenger. We use School Messenger simply to send out emergency calls. We've got a 2-hour delay, whatever. That would go out. We use that also for our lunch balances, for a variety of things, but that was purely administrative use. We came across a program called Parent Square, which is what we implemented. Like I said, kind of a crazy time to be implementing it, but it has actually really worked out well, that transition. What Parent Square does is it's twofold. Number one, it still gives us that emergency notification. It is tied into our Power School database, so all of the student contacts 1 and 2 that are listed are automatically, an automatic account is set up in Parent Square. So I can send out, like in the morning, if we had fog, I can quickly create a message that goes out. It's a phone call, it's a text message, and it is a email that goes out, and that goes out instantly. So that is we replicated what we were doing before. The nice thing is that it has a much nicer interface, and it updates with Power School a lot better. So if we make a change, if you came in and if you're a parent and you changed your cell phone today at 6 o'clock tonight, our nightly upload would have gotten that, and if there's a delay tomorrow morning, your new cell phone number would automatically get that. We don't have to keep track of where everything is. As you can see, we've got 99.4% of our families are contactable right now. We've got a little bit more work to, I think I've got a couple to clean up. That number goes up and down as people change. But I wanted to show you real quick the added piece to this is that teachers all now, this ties in not only to Power School for the parents, but it ties into Power School for the teacher schedules. So a teacher now it pre-populates all the students in their class, so they can, at the click of a button, they can send out a message to all the students in their class, all the students in all their classes, you know, at the high school, or you could pick 2 classes, and that automatically populates. If the guidance counselor changes the schedule, the next day, that class list is updated in here. They don't need to keep track of all that. The other piece with that is that this is all, they can text back and forth with parents. It's all archived. So if there's any question about what was sent out or what was said, it is archived in our system. So it's not on the teacher's cell phone. The teacher doesn't need to give out their cell phone number. They just need to connect through Parent Square. It goes to whoever the contact is, and they can go back and forth. I wanted to show you real quick how the system works. So now my screen looks a little different than what the teachers do, but I'm just going to create a post. Please, yep. All right, so I'm going to create a new post over here. You can see down below, it's kind of like a Facebook interface, similar to that. I'm going to choose up the top. These are all the choices I have. Teachers usually just have their classes. I'm going to send this to every parent in Manchester Community Schools. So this is going to go out to 1,921 devices, either emails, cell phone, text messages, that. And what I want to do is, normally tomorrow I send out the champions of Manchester Community Schools. I'm going to send that out tonight. This week's champion, this is something that Dr. Grimaud came up with. Each week we recognize a staff member, kind of a combination. Recognize and highlight them, get to know them a little bit, and so we rotate that around the corporation. This week was MIS. And you guys know Andrew Chinworth is doing a fabulous job out there. And this is just kind of a way to recognize him, let people know who he is, and there's a little bit of a bio about them, and so we put that out there. So that's going to go to all Manchester Community Schools, champions, that's pre-populated, so that will be the subject line. So if and this is going, I want to tell you real quick, this is going as a, this is a JPEG, this is a picture. So there's one thing I can't do with this. Down at the bottom, there's a translate button. If this was not a picture, if this was text, then this could be automatically translated if a family speaks Spanish and we know in Power School that they are Spanish speaking, this message automatically goes to them in Spanish. And I don't need to translate it because I struggle with English. Let alone Spanish. So this does the automatic translation. Unfortunately with this is a graphic that we create and send out. So that translate doesn't happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit post now. This is going to go to all staff and parents in Manchester Community Schools. I hit post now. It asks me, am I sure? Yep, I want to do that. And in just a second, I'm going to get a text message. Some of you, if your parents, are going to get text messages saying, and you're going to get this. Now, at the same time, I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to put this on, there, just got it. I'm going to put it on Twitter, and I'm going to put it on Facebook. And so there, that information just went to 1,900 parents, and it went on our Twitter and Facebook post pages. So that is really nice. Now, the other thing we can do with this, and some of the administrators can do the same thing, they're using it. I don't need to post it to all the devices. I can just post it out there, and if you log into this, you can see it. I don't alert your phone or your watch or whatever. You wouldn't see the alert, but we can put it on Facebook very quickly through that as well, and it just gives it a nice look at that. The one piece we want to talk about real quickly, and I don't think I'm going to take the time to actually set it up. Let me go back home. I will show you. I'm going to do another post. That'd be in one of the schools. I just forget. Yep. I can't do this from the corporation level. I'm in one of the schools. I'm in the high school right now. Over here, I'm going to do a conference sign up. And basically what it's going to do, it's asking me here, what days do I want my parent-teacher conferences, start times, end times, all that. If I set this up, this creates basically a giant spreadsheet with appointments that are scheduled. And this is how the teachers all scheduled parent-teacher conferences this year. We saved an incredible amount of time on our office staff, and we still had, the teachers had to do it, but they were doing a lot of this scheduling anyway, or finalizing the schedule. We saved a lot of postage. So basically this created a spreadsheet with time slots, and the teachers each sent it out to their class or classes. So an elementary teacher would send it out to their class and their 20, 25 students or whatever. High school teachers, they sent it out to probably 6 classes, so there were a lot more that went out to. Then the parents got that and they saw time slots. 3:30 to 3:40, 3:40 to 3:50 on both days, and the parent-teacher conferences are next Monday and Tuesday. The parents got that. They could click on it. It automatically populated that parent's information on that chart for the teacher. The teachers knew when they were coming, and it automatically then, other parents don't see who is scheduled in that time. They just see that the teacher already has an appointment scheduled. So it's first come, first serve. They can move those around, the teachers can, and make adjustments. But that gives the teachers control of this. It really, so far, it has really worked nice. Knock on wood, hope it continues to work that way. And you know, in the COVID situation we have right now, it's been really nice because there hasn't been nearly as much contact, you know, having people come in and get things, passing things back and forth. This is all electronic. And if a parent does have an issue with doing this online, they don't have access, they're able to call in. The teacher can then just quickly go, oh, I've got these time slots open, click a button, and they're automatically scheduled there. We are doing, oh, go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, so has the response been good, number one? And number two, so is parent-teachers conference going to be over Zoom, and will we get a link, or?
Yes, and I think the answer to both those questions is yes. The response has been very good for the most part. We've had very good sign up, actually, to the point that I think the high school teachers have had so many people signing up. I don't think some of them are out of slots. So that's a great thing. Because in the past they have not had as much participation as the elementary. And these they're going to be done virtually. Obviously we're trying to keep we don't have visitors in our schools. We're trying to keep that contact down to a minimum. So what's going to happen next week is the teachers are going to send out, actually this will send out an automatic reminder telling the parent, reminding them when their time slot is. The teachers are going to send out another reminder saying, hey, remember you've got your scheduled conferences tomorrow. Here is the Zoom link. And also on this, we had the parents contact or give information. Do you want to go by Zoom or do you want a phone conference if they don't have access to Zoom? They should all have their student's device that they can use, but if they don't have good internet, we understand that. That sometimes is a problem with Zoom. So we can do that over the phone, so we've made arrangements for that. But the teachers will send out that link. They can sit in their rooms at the school. The parent can get online. The great thing about this is a parent, if they've got students in 3 different buildings, they can have a parent-teacher conference. They can be 5 minutes apart because they don't have to travel between buildings. They can schedule them whenever that works. So conferences, just so you are aware, are next Monday and Tuesday from 3:30 to 7:30 in both evenings. So, but you know, that's just one place this is being used. This can also, when we go back to have field trips or we have events in the class and you need volunteers, this same type of system can be used for volunteer sign up. We're going to do the Thanksgiving feast at the elementary, and I need 5 volunteers, and I need people to send apples and somebody to send caramel corn or whatever, I don't know. You can put all those things on there, send it out to your parents, and they can check off what they want, and then you can send a message back. So it saves all those little pieces of paper going back and forth, pinned to the kid's back. Yeah, Dave?
We have 3 board members sitting here that aren't parents of students anymore. Yeah. Can we get put on that so we get the announcements of what's going on in the buildings?
We need to do a little check on that because it is coming through Power School, and you are not, you're not in Power School. I'll take a look at that. We're trying to be careful who.
Let's talk about Parent Square, where the announcement, like with Chinworth and that kind of information.
Yeah, like I said, but Parent Square the data for Parent Square is fed through Power School. So I need to work on that. There's some pieces to this that we're still perfecting. Is there an outside group that I can create that these can go to? I don't want to say outside group, but like you said, non-parents that we can add to this list that would get some of our normal notices.
Thank you.
So do we ever use this to survey parents on different types of issues or anything? Is that a potential use for this?
Yes, we have used, I'm not sure if there's a survey. I think there are some ways you can set up some surveys in here. What we have been using this for is we'll set up a Google form as a survey, and we've sent a few of them out already, but we'll send them out on this. So we'll send that message to everyone with the link to the Google form, and you can put a letter with it explaining what you're doing. Click on the link automatically takes you to a Google form then.
And the other one, so Power Schools, the grading?
Yes.
In that one, do you have capability of any type of graphics like control charts or anything off the grading, like a P chart or anything? It's kind of shows you the variation in score. We use it in industry, and I just kind of wondered.
Power School is our student management system. It manages everything, including grades. The great thing about Power School is it's huge. It'll do everything. The bad thing about Power School is it's huge. It does everything. And doing some of those things are a little tricky. We do have a platform that we use that does pull out that data and makes it look a whole lot nicer, that we can look and track students, how they're doing and the school, the administrators and teachers all use that. That gives them weekly, it can give them a report of here's the students that are at risk. They show up in red. Their grades have dropped since last week. Power School doesn't do that as nicely. All the data's there, but pulling it out, this platform does that.
Yeah, P-chart can just plot your proportion every grade, right? And then you can see it looks at variation. Then you see they go down. Maybe it's a job, it's a girl, it's too much sports. Maybe they're into something else. It goes up. That means good.
Right, and each week it gives them a list of the what students are heading up and which students are heading down. Okay. And so they can do that. So.
And then one last question: the data that we have, is that on a local server? Is that out in a cloud, or is that in the Power School server? I'm assuming that's protected.
The Power School data.
Yeah, the parent information, the contact information.
Contact info, all that stuff is on redundant servers. Power School is probably the biggest student management software system out there. It's international. Yes, it is all on remote servers with redundancy.
Have they ever been hacked? That you know of?
Not that I know of. They are very secure.
Thank you.
I'll knock on wood when I say that too, because that's not something we have to take care of. We have. They're not our servers. We have them on supported servers.
They're a ballpark. Okay, thank you.
So is this a licensed tool like Windows that we're using? They can't get into our system, right?
Who?
Power School. This is a vendor. This is an operating system that we bought.
Power School?
Yeah.
We've been on Power School. When I started about 25 years ago, we started on something called Mac School that then merged with PC School, which became Power School. So we've been on it. I mean, I can go back and find all the data, I mean, all students' grades and all their transcripts and all their stuff all the way back into the late 90s. So yeah, that is, our information is hosted on their servers, and yes, it is secure.
Okay, so we pay them a fee to use that then?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's.
Thank you.
Other questions? I just want to say that, I mean, this has just been, I mean, it's so nice that now we have, not only administrators can we use this, but teachers can use it on an individual basis, and as they get more and more used to it. And once again, we're trying to make it so that, I mean, one teacher was using this platform, one teacher was using this one teacher was using it. So, you know, if you have students in 3 different classes, you might have Remind, you might have, you know, Class Dojo, there are all kinds of things out there. We're trying to get it so that everybody knows one system. And so that when parents go someplace, this is where it is. And that's what we're trying to do with Power School too. Where do you go to enroll your student? Where do you go to get information on your students' academics? You go to Power School. That's where we're trying to head people. So it's a process, and I want to thank Tony Miller for all his work on the back end of getting all this data munched in there. He thrives on that stuff. It drives me nuts trying to keep track of how all the data. I mean, he can tell you when the servers talk to each other and how they do all that. But appreciate that, and we're excited that this is working so well.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Mr. Hensley, the legislative update.
Nothing really at the time. I think, in the memo, you hit some of the points of the 100% to 85 and some of the things that they're looking at. It'll be interesting going forward. I know that, the tax climate, and a lot of people want money for different things. That's all I know. So.
Mr. Terflinger, the Heartland update.
Okay, short and sweet here. Trevor Dill and Jay Conliff are 2 Manchester community students who are enrolled in the Heartland Community Precision Ag class. I can't give you the exact date, but they were invited to Indianapolis to the state school board meeting. They're part of the Precision Ag class. And they traveled to Indy to present to the state school board at their invitation. And I can tell you that Mark Hobbs is about as excited as I've ever seen him. He said that the teacher, Lori Dubois, and him just pretty much stood back and let the kids run with it. And they really made some inroads for the kids coming behind them. Well, I'll just use Mark's comment. The state school board sucked it up like Kool-Aid. They were really enthused at seeing the kids, just kind of like our FFA kids here tonight, doing the presentation themselves. And one fact that I did find out, this Precision Ag class is the only one in the country that's being done at the high school level. And it's right here in Wabash County, Indiana. That's all I got.
Thank you. Portion of the meeting where it's hearing of the patrons. Somebody has something to say, step up to the mic. Please share your name with us. Recognition, Dr. Kamel. Was that earlier?
Yes. Yeah, we did the FFA recognition earlier, but there is another recognition I wanted to make sure that we got in. Typically, I would probably put this through for our MCS champion. However, it's an unusual circumstance, and I don't think the person that we're going to recognize would feel comfortable doing that. So we want to recognize Randy Self this month. I know he's very surprised over there. Since he sends that out for MCS champions, I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable doing that, but he certainly needs to be recognized. When COVID hit, Randy stepped up to provide live options for board meetings and public comments. He's gone above and beyond for his job description by providing live streaming of graduation, athletic events, senior nights. He has also provided several recorded sessions that highlighted our students, such as various award recognitions. The MCS website, while always still evolving, has been upgraded with numerous COVID documents, revamped board policy structure, various forms of community input, such as COVID plan, cost savings, suggestions, strategic plans. Those are all still live documents that you can go and suggest any comments that you have, and then the strategic planning information, to just name a few of the things that he has done. I dream up the ideas and he makes them happen, and he's always ready and willing to make that take place. He always aims to please others and provide support to anyone who is in need. And he is a tremendous asset to our team. Just ask anybody and they will tell you that. It was such a grateful heart for the job that he does that we recognize him for the copious hours that he has put in for the betterment of MCS. And thank you, Mr. Self, for being a champion for MCS. We appreciate all that you do.
Superintendent comments?
Yeah, me again, huh? Just want to say thank you again to all of those people that have donated over $4,000 worth of either supplies or money, and 850 masks that came in this month. So I really appreciate all of those who support MCS in the ways that they do. Actually, I want to invite everyone to our October 19th. There will be some information. I'm not sure if it went out today or not, but there'll be some information coming soon. We will have 2 opportunities for anyone to come in and give more input on the strategic plan. Our principals will be available to kind of provide some of that information. It will not be the full-blown plan or presentations that we did last time, because we will not be going over the exemplars, and all of those are located on the website, but they will be here to give you some background about why they chose what they did and how they worked with the community to provide those recommendations. And it will be at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock next Monday evening. And we would appreciate you being here to give us your input. We are working on prioritizing what those recommendations would look like and any other considerations you would like for us to have. So we really do value your input. We'd appreciate you attending that if you can make that work. If not, on November 12th is another opportunity that we will be hosting another strategic planning session where we will be discussing each recommended item, prioritizing projects, and setting goals. Please be willing to come and be part of that. We would hope to see you at both of these very important events, whichever ones you can make it to. We would appreciate it. And just as an FYI for your knowing, we have gathered an advocacy committee, which will start on October 28th. And this is 15 to 20 people that have been recommended to me from the community members, that they will be coming in and they will be learning the ins and outs of MCS. They'll be learning about finances, educational aspects. They will be learning about the strategic plan. And we will have about 3 to 4 meetings throughout the school year. And I will be gathering some input from them. And then next year we'll start with a new group. So we are just working to be able to inform people so that when they go out into the community, they can speak on our behalf and they know what happens behind the scenes. So that is coming, like I said, on October 28th. And we're really excited about that first meeting. So that's it.
Thank you. School board comments?
I was sort of reflecting on things today, and I'd just like to say thank you to Steve. You know, Sid, the more I think about it, your tenure on this school board of 16 years, I'm not sure how you did it, pal, but I just want to thank you for the service to the community. And sorry about that, I just split in there so we didn't get caught in isolation between 2 and 4 years, so hopefully you guys don't take that personal.
Board, please make sure you sign the documents before you leave. If there's no more comments, then we're adjourned. Thank you.